I am here to talk with you this morning because somewhere along the way, education has gone astray in our country. And I believe that side-by-side learning has the potential to get us back on our path. So, education happens everywhere, right? We're always learning, right? Learning happens everywhere. So you won't be surprised when I tell you that when we asked people who consider themselves lifelong learners where they were when they had their most profound educational experience, the vast majority of people said they were not in a school setting. It's kind of a head scratcher, right? For me, one of my most profound educational experiences happened in the bathroom. And don't worry, this is a clean story. I was not too far along in my teaching career, and I needed to make ends meet, and so I took a job at night assisting a person who was selling cosmetics through an at-home party system. My job that evening was to assist women, who am I kidding, in washing their faces. So my job was to tell them one pump of the product and then be there waiting when they finished so that they could wipe their faces with a towel. So I was pretty convinced it was going to be absolutely unbridled tedium, just to be honest. But boy, was I wrong. It wasn't just the variety of intensity or speed or intention, although that was shatteringly amazing. It was the art in that simple piece of work. By the end, I was embarrassed. I was like choking back the tears, and if the woman's washed her face, she thinks I'm completely insane. But I knew that there was something that I had learned there that had changed me forever. Not only would I never wash my face the same way again, but I knew that there was something about what I had seen that could be applied to teaching children. I didn't know what it was yet, and it took a long time. It haunted me, and I worked on it, and I thought about it, and I talked to colleagues, and different professional communities helped me to develop it. And we have now what we call side-by-side learning, which we practice at Slate School in North Haven, Connecticut. So I'll tell you, the current definition, and I'm a learner, so it's evolving just like I am, goes kind of like this. Side-by-side learning is the active observation or participation in work beside a mentor, followed by reflection and wonder. Now, the last part is not necessary for the first part, but I promise you that reflecting and wondering increases the understanding exponentially. It is a beautiful practice, and at Slate School, it works kind of like this. An individual comes to our campus and joins us in the courtyard or in the classroom or in an outer building at the campus, and they simply do their work. It requires no preparation whatsoever. No slideshows, no handouts, no games designed to be interesting for children. Just do your work. It is profoundly interesting to us. I'm going to show you a video now rather than explain what it looks like. I'm going to show you, and I just have one disclaimer because the person you will see in the video is Laura Gardner, and she is exceptional. She can do so many things well. She is visiting with us on this day in the video for a second time. She came to us once, and we were able to watch her work with watercolors, which was incredibly beautiful. This trip is a little bit more specific. She's just returned here from a safari in Tanzania, where she has collected her observations and drawings in a nature journal, which is something that we do a lot at our school, and so it's particularly interesting to our students. So let's see what you notice here.
Well, it's not a race, but I do draw super fast, which helps when you're on safari. So let's start with his eyes. Now, should we make the monkey smile?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just like it is in the picture.
Yeah, he looks a little mischievous, doesn't he? Right. Okay, he's got a little beard, and he's got these tufty little ears. And he's got this little white thing. So I can actually, it's actually a waterproof pen.
Oh my.
All right, so theoretically, this won't bleed when it gets, so sometimes it spreads.
23 seconds.
23 seconds. All right, very precise. I like what I hear. All right, so, looks like a monkey, kind of?
Yeah.
It's getting there?
Mostly looks like a gorilla.
Looks like a gorilla, maybe? All right, so he's got sort of these pretty orange eyes. So let's see. Look, you know what? I can get right in there. I don't have to color in the lines, but I'm going to choose to, because this is going to show the different ways we can paint if we really want to get it pretty accurate. So let's go ahead and give him, so a little bit different than this, huh?
Yeah.
A little bit different, but there's a place for both.
Kind of looks the same.
Kind of looks the same? Yeah?
Because this is that, and that is like...
Well, let's go ahead and add some color to this. Let's see if it behaves the same way, and then we'll have a koala. Sometimes when we were in the safari vehicles, we were actually there to keep nature journals. So first of all, who knows what a safari is?
Safari is like...
I love the wait time here.
Something in the wild, I think.
Exactly. No, you're exactly right.
Nature.
So I got to go on safari, and some people go on safari. I was in Tanzania. Some people go and take photographs. I did take plenty of photographs, but we were with nature journals. So I understand that there's a lot of nature journaling happening here. Is that right? Mm-hmm. Fantastic. So this is my nature journal.
Beautiful. So I know it's a little bit hard to hear, but what did you notice? What did you notice? Anything? Well, I hope you noticed that at the beginning of the talk, at the beginning of her lesson there, I don't want to call it a lesson, at the beginning of her work, she said it helps to draw quickly. You don't have to draw quickly, but it helps when you're on safari. And so one of the students actually was timing her. 23 seconds, he said. Right, and she was delighted by that. There were a lot of connections happening, and I don't know if you noticed the little girl next to Laura was completely focused on the paints. She's just looking at that incredible palette of color. So important to her because what you can't see is what happened after this. And the children took all of this information, the incredible, water-resistant pen, the colors, the idea that you can paint things that you've seen on safari, and they spread it around the classroom, and 7-year-olds filled a room with incredible watercolors. And that little girl who was looking at that paint set so intently, she is really in love with cats, and she painted so many cats of so many different kinds, and she experimented with all the colors. And this is only the beginning of what's important in side-by-side learning. In side-by-side learning, children take in exactly what they can handle. In education, we talk all the time about differentiation. We want to make sure that every child receives exactly what they need. They're challenged, but they're not overwhelmed, and they're definitely not bored. Well, we work on this all the time as teachers. What can we do for little Tommy? What can we do for little Susie? But guess what? When children do it for themselves, it is perfect every time. So the children in side-by-side learning receive exactly what they need. You can see how important this is. It also empowers them in ways that you might not imagine. Taking their questions side by side with a mentor empowers them to ask more questions, and not just about the topic that they're learning about on that day, but about everything. It increases their inquisitiveness and it increases their wonder about the whole world. This learning lasts long, long beyond the session with the mentor. So side-by-side learning is so important. And you know who does it really, really well? Grandparents. Grandparents do it well because they're not invested in the outcome of the learning. They're not taking you to the hardware store because they're hoping you're going to become a contractor. They're taking you to the hardware store because that's their work that day, and they trust that there is beauty and importance in that work. They're not undermining their own ability to wow and amaze in doing the ordinary. You can take your grandchildren to the grocery store, the drugstore, the hardware store, and they come back on fire with ideas about the world. So grandparents do it really, really well. At Slate School, we invite everyone to come. Musicians, artists, plumbers, whittlers, people who knit, mathematicians, engineers, scientists. It matters not what you do, only that you can commit to do it with passion and integrity in front of children. In fact, it's better for us to see a musician struggle with a thorny passage and play it over and over again than it is for us to see it look effortless in concert. We love to see people fail and try again. This is the big understanding for children. Okay, so what are the challenges? There are a few. The first is that it can be a little intimidating to reveal your work, to reveal yourself in doing your work in front of children without charts or PowerPoints or worksheets. It requires you to really show yourself. And some of us have begun to think that our work is not that interesting. But it is. And children are better at discovering that than we are. They would have noticed long before I did that the face washing was beautiful. So that is a challenge, though. You have to be brave in order to do this work. And the other thing that's a challenge currently is our education system doesn't give us a lot of time for work like this. There's a lot of testing, and there's preparation for the testing with tests to see how we're doing preparing, and then there are tests to get everybody familiar with the language of the test, and then there are tests to see if you understand the language of the test that you're going to take, and on and on and on, and it takes a lot of time. So if we want schools to do this kind of work, we have to ask for it, because they're not going to do it unless we do. So how can we help each other do this important work? Well, we could practice it ourselves. The next time you go to the shoe store to have your boots reheeled, ask to observe that. How do you do that? What does that look like? I've never seen anybody put a heel on a boot. I'd love to watch that. Ask if you can attend a rehearsal for the symphony instead of just seeing the concert. And let children see you do that. Reveal to them that you are a lifelong learner in that way, and that everybody's work is important. When the mail is delivered, ask the mailman, how long have you been working today? Well, what's your route like? How far does it take you? And what do you love about your job? It'll make a difference. And finally, demand it in your schools. The teachers will really thank you. We're all educated in constructivist education. We read Dewey, and we know that it's important for children to have experiential learning and to guide their learning themselves. So teachers really want this. Give them the ammunition to get it. Demand it in your schools. It will make your students richer. And I'm going to tell you, if you are brave enough to go to a school and offer to show yourself as a worker, to show your work, you will be so richly rewarded, because you will truly be reminded of the joy that brought you to the career that you've been practicing, perhaps numbly, for a while. You'll be changed. They'll teach you. So lastly, we don't want you to do this on your own. Slate School wants to walk this journey with you. We'd love to hear about your successes. We'd love to work with you on the challenges. Get a partner too. Working in twos is much easier than working it alone. We know that this work is important, and we absolutely believe that together, side by side, we can change the landscape of education for the better. So thank you so much, and let's get to it.